Gang, I have had Blue Apron dinner many, many times. Unbelievably easy to prepare and taste so good. Blue Apron is the leading meal kit delivery service in the U.S., and while many people know what they do, many don't know about the types of meals you can eat when you cook with Blue Apron. How do these sound? Baked tilapia, creamy kale, and frigola sarda pasta, sheet pan roasted pork with fall vegetables and creamy maple mustard, chili butter steaks with lemon parmesan broccoli and potatoes, creamy tomato pasta with mushroom and collard greens. Blue Apron delivers fresh, pre-portioned ingredients, step-by-step recipes that are very easy to follow right to your door. That can be cooked in under 45 minutes. The menu changes every week based on what's in season and is designed by Blue Apron's in-house culinary team. Blue Apron offers 12 new recipes each week, and customers can pick 2, 3, or 4 recipes based on what best fits their schedule. Blue Apron sends only non-GMO ingredients and meat with no added hormones. Blue Apron is treating Golic and Wingo listeners to their first dinner, a $30 value if you visit blueapron.com/Golic. So check out this week's menu. Get your $30 off with free shipping at blueapron.com/Golic. Blue Apron. It's a better way to cook.
With the Citi Double Cash Card, you get 1% cash back when you buy and 1% as you pay. That's like the joy of discovering the last donut.
Ooh.
And it has your name on it, literally, in chocolate sprinkly things.
No way.
Double the love with the Citi Double Cash Card. Apply now at Citi.com/doublecash.
This is the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast.
Former New York Giants offensive lineman, a Super Bowl winner with them, and a teammate of Eli Manning, who now works for the NFL Network, joins us now on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Shaun O'Hara is with us. Get instant gold status at Shell. Join the Fuel Rewards program now at fuelrewards.com/gold. Shaun, thanks for getting up early and being with us. The idea that this would happen to the Giants of all teams that hadn't had an in-season coaching change in 40 years must be a little weird to you, considering that they, for all these years, had been sort of the model of stability for a franchise, right?
Yeah, top of the morning to you all. Very surreal for the Giants, for the organization, for the fans. Just 2 years ago, less than that, they just ushered Tom Coughlin out the door, and that kind of signaled a huge change in ownership and in direction. So I don't think anybody thought they would be doing this again in this short amount of time, especially given last season. But it was obvious that things were not headed in the right direction. And I think, as much as they can say that the Eli benching wasn't the last straw, I think that really is what pushed them to make an immediate move, because the anger and the disappointment, not just for the season, but for what had transpired, really just kind of was overflowing, and I don't think they could handle it anymore. A 2-10 season is hard enough to take, but for fans, the one thing they were hanging on was that they still had Eli, and when they took that away, there was no other choice.
I don't think there was any doubt. I don't think anybody's surprised the two guys who were fired. It was a matter of more of when, not if. So they were fired, and I agree with you with this last straw type of situation. So in this Eli situation, you and I know a lot of your former Giant teammates have been talking about this. Where do you lay blame on how the whole Eli Manning situation was handled?
Well, I think, it seems to me like there was some gray area, and that is what I don't understand. I don't know how there could have been that much disconnect between what John Mara was discussing with them privately and then what was said to Eli. It just doesn't add up to me from a football standpoint, because when it happened, I said, if I'm Ben McAdoo, how do I stand in front of my team and tell them with 5 games left to go that I'm expecting maximal effort when I'm not putting my best quarterback out there on the field? And so that did not make sense to me. And when you look at the team and the season, the whole point is, we're not going to make the playoffs. We don't have a whole lot to play for, but we do have some pride to play for. And by putting Geno Smith in, with all due respect to Geno, he doesn't give you your best option to win. So I think there was some disconnect with what was what went on between them and what was then transferred to Eli about, hey, you're definitely coming out of the game after halftime. And I don't think that was the initiative. I think it was more, hey, look, if the game gets out of hand, we should try to put these, Geno in and maybe even Davis Webb. But the head scratcher is Davis Webb hadn't even been active.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you go from him not dressing to all of a sudden now he's going to start playing. That didn't make sense. And I think when you look at that, it should have been a no-brainer. Hey, look, if Geno's or Davis Webb is active and the game was a blowout, then yeah, let's give him some play time. But I think moving forward, Eli still has some good football in him, so it didn't make any sense.
Shaun, we had heard about a group of players that had been preparing to maybe show up to the game this weekend wearing Eli's jerseys as a show of support from him. I don't know if you were a part of this group or if you talked to guys, but I guess just the general sense from yourself and other guys who played with Eli about how this has been handled and the feelings towards the organization that have come from this.
Yeah, I kind of caught wind of it all. For the guys that wanted to do that, that more power to them. And I thought it was a great display of support. What they don't know is that all of his former offensive linemen, we wear Eli Manning underwear. So, we've been supporting him throughout all this. And
that is support, by the way. You're right. That is support, Shaun.
Yeah, big time. No chafing either. So I think when you look at just what happened and how upset everybody was, I think everybody wanted to do two things. Number one, show support for Eli because what he's meant to everybody. Guys he's played with, guys he's played against, fans. Everybody certainly felt for him in that capacity, but also, I think everybody felt like, man, this had gotten out of control. And nobody knew if it was, McAdoo that was running that train, or if it was Jerry Reese, or so I think everybody tried to show a little solidarity. I do the post game show, so I don't know if I was going to get to wear an Eli jersey. I probably wouldn't have fit in it anyways, but I said definitely was supporting Eli, and it's tough too because the Giants family is very close, and when I say family, I mean everybody that's played for them, current, former, worked for them, people in the building. It's really a close fraternity, and it was tough to go through for everybody.
Chafe-free Eli Manning underwear. Who knew all this time the quarterback was protecting his linemen?
There you go. See, there it is.
Marino started the Ice Toner gloves, and Eli just said, you know what, I feel so much more connected to you guys, and that's kind of how it went down.
Well, let me just say,
that escalated quickly.
Yeah, that was impressive, Shaun.
It got out of hand fast.
I'm not going to lie to you. That is we handle all your chafing needs at 6:38 on the East Coast here on Golic and Wingo. All right, Shaun O'Hara with us, who obviously won a Super Bowl with the Giants, played with Eli Manning for all these years. The bottom line going forward now, Shaun, is what? Because Eli has already said, I want to play. Can this marriage of Eli Manning with the Giants be saved after what he went through and the ridiculous reason, the absolute ludicrous, insane, no reason for it reason, that his streak of 210 straight starts ended?
I think it can. I think it can be salvaged, but to me, there's a couple things that have to happen. Number one, they've got to find a way to fix some of the transgressions that have happened with the offensive line. And, I hate to just kind of throw the whole group under there because there are some good players and some guys that are really playing hard, but there's no question about it. Eli has not been able to stand confident in that pocket, and it's not just this year. It's been going on for a couple of years. So I think that needs to be addressed. I think Eli doesn't want to put on another uniform. He doesn't want to wear another helmet. But there are decisions to be made for the future with this year's draft coming up, and I think Eli realizes all that. He's savvy enough to understand that, but if they come to him with a plan better than the last plan that they came to him with, I think he would be on board with trying to play another few years. And I still think he's got some really good football in him. When the game was on the line, Eli is the kind of guy that you want with the football because he can win the game with a couple throws. He's already proven that.
Shaun, gut feeling, next year rolls around, game one, is Eli starter for the Giants, or is he somewhere else?
I think Eli's still starting for the Giants. I think, yes, there are some good quarterbacks in this draft coming out. I don't know that even if they did draft one of them, that they would start week one. Eli didn't start his rookie year, and I think when he came to the Giants and I saw him, he was probably the most prepared rookie I've ever seen, and he still didn't get the start right away. So I think there's a good chance that Eli is still starting for the Giants next year. My big question is, what kind of offense are they running? Hopefully it's something that is much more suited to him.
Well, we'll see if that plays out going forward. And look, if they go back to him this week, as Jordan Renan, our Giants reporter, has already said, it was like, for who, for what? Why did that streak end? It makes no sense.
Horrible.
Shaun, we appreciate it. Look, and I want to tell you something, Shaun, okay? You do great work on the NFL Network, but nothing will ever top your television appearance on Silent Library with the Giants and the Giants offensive lineman.
Awesome.
If you guys haven't seen it, go find YouTube and look up the Giants offensive line playing Silent Library.
Well done.
My face still hurts from that tennis ball throwing machine, but one thing that they didn't tell you was that maple syrup in large quantities is a laxative.
Oh, good to know. So let me get this straight.
Know that.
Yeah, we're so glad we had Shaun on the show for all your chafing and early diuretic needs.
I was going to say, did that sully the Eli Manning underpants?
Okay, we've crossed a line. We have crossed a line at 6:41 in the morning. See, this is why you're on the show. This is why Shaun is on the show.
Thanks, Shaun.
Shaun, we appreciate it. Thanks
Shaun.
for being with us, man.
Hey, thanks, guys. Hey, and congrats on your new show. Trey, watch out for your fingers, pal.
You got it, pal.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
Trey Wingo and Mike Golic Sr. So we talked a lot in this hour about the injury to Ryan Shazier, but you cannot overemphasize how important that comeback was for the Pittsburgh Steelers because, listen, this is going to come down to a Week 15 matchup for AFC supremacy when the Patriots travel to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. They each have one game before that, then it's Week 15, and in all likelihood, the winner of that game is going to get home field advantage. So it was imperative for them, the Pittsburgh Steelers, to match the Steelers or the Patriots record and win their 8th straight. They have done that, and they really keep alive the possibility that whoever wins that game in 2 weeks is going to be home for the playoffs.
Yeah, I get that, and certainly from Pittsburgh's side, they were going to be in the playoffs and what they were fighting for. To me, it was more important for Cincinnati, to try and save their season, try and get the 6-6 to be one game away from Baltimore for a wild card, and they still have to play Baltimore. They would have been with another clump of, I think, 3 other 6-6 teams, but still would have had a chance. Because then again, you wonder if they're not in the playoffs this year, what kind of changes are going to happen for this team. Pittsburgh set, and I understand everything you're saying about their positioning, but for Cincinnati, this kind of tilted the scales now off of the playoffs for them and again into, okay, what's going to happen in the offseason?
It's pretty amazing. You're right. Marvin Lewis, I guess it must have aged overnight because the last time I checked, it felt like it had been a decade. Marvin Lewis has been there for 15 years now, and they haven't won a playoff game in that entire time. So at some point you understand that the value of continuity, and I bring this up all the time in the world of college football, continuity and the importance there. But certainly in the NFL, we see these two franchises especially value that at their head coaching spot. At some point, the benefits that affords you of having that familiarity around the building are just outweighed by all of the lack of success there.
Yep. Absolutely. And again, the Steelers had been, this was only the third time in 155 games where they've been down 17 or more on the road. They came back to win. So there was the big hit that Shazier unfortunately got carted off for. We'll try and get an update for you about him later on in the show. But later in that game, Juju Smith-Schuster with a huge peel-back block on Vontaze Burfict. That
legal, didn't get flagged for it. He's going to get suspended. I mean, he's going to get fined.
He will get fined for it. And afterwards, this was him apologizing in the locker room. But I also want you to listen to the background for what you're going to hear from Antonio Brown.
I didn't know it was Burfict at first. All I saw was the first Bengals dude that was in the tackle Le'Veon. So in my instinct, I got a block from my teammate, and me just playing ball. I hit him. After I seen the replay, I think I should have held back a little bit more and just from blocking him.
I got straight cash on him.
I also believe that's not me. I should never stood over him. I apologize for that. And
it's called karma.
With that being said,
it's called
I hope he gets better.
That is Antonio Brown yelling, "It's called karma" in the background. A couple of years ago, 2015 wild card game in Cincinnati. It was Vontaze Burfict who hit Antonio Brown across the middle, concussed him, and that led to the Steelers having that amazing comeback win. But then, of course, they were without Le'Veon Bell and they were without Antonio Brown in the divisional round. They lost to the Broncos that year.
This block, again, the block didn't get flagged. He got flagged for standing over Burfict and taunting him afterward. The block I liked. I mean, he put his shoulder down, but unfortunately some of his helmet caught Burfict in the helmet, and he's going to get fined for that. They want that out of the league, and I understand that. So they're going to fine any situation of that. He tried to get down low. He almost made it all the way low enough to not get what I think will eventually be a fine. And the reason you have Antonio Brown yelling karma is Burfict had to get carted off the field. Now, before he got into the locker room, Burfict, he said, I want to get up off this, off this backboard, this cart, and he did get off, so he was fine. He walked into the locker room under his own power, but that's why Antonio Brown was yelling karma, because Burfict had to be carted off the field in this one.
Still probably not the place you want to be screaming karma, and the last couple of years haven't exactly been kind to AB PR-wise.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Completely agree.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
What a day, what a show, what a time.
I tell you what, a great sports night last night. Yeah. No doubt about it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Hey girl, have you done something new with your scales? Using new moisturizer? Nice. It really brings out the hazel in your eyes. Oh, hold on. Are you using whitening strips too? Your fangs look good, girl. Really good.
A really charming snake charmer? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Wait, what? Have you been doing Pilates too?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
We've been having a lot of fun over the last 2 weeks about this when the story broke that Herm Edwards might become the head coach at Arizona State. We had him in here last week, and he was like, stop it. I haven't even talked to them yet, blah, blah, blah. Well, he has talked to them since, and he has been named the new head coach of the Arizona State Sun Devils. He will be here this week to finish out NFL Live and also be with us on Golic and Wingo either on Thursday or Friday. Mm-hmm. Not sure which day that's going to be. But we are all very excited for Herm. First of all, because you've done this as well, Herm still relates to the kids. He does that Under Armour game, or has done it every year for the last 5 or 6 years.
8 years.
8 years.
Yeah, I believe it was in that area of 8, been part of it. So he sees the top players in the country, before they go on, these top recruits before they go on to college. So, he still has a lifeline to those guys. He's going to be sitting in the living room with those same guys and their parents. Yep. Going forward, it's my wife was just out in Arizona, so she was listening to local radio and said there was more than a few who were kind of not sure about the hire, bringing up the fact that he hasn't been a coach in 9 years. And I find that interesting because if the announcement at Arizona State was John Gruden is the new head coach at Arizona State, I bet everybody would be excited.
Right.
And he hasn't coached
in 9
years. And they both have still been part of the game, whether announcing like John has or doing every show there is here at ESPN and talking football and preparing for football like Herm has done. It's interesting how they're going to run that. They say more like an NFL style situation.
He'll be a CEO kind of.
But the bottom line, the bottom line for college football, college everything is recruiting.
Yep.
And for this guy, again, to think that this 63-year-old is not going to relate, he's going to relate because he is still around those the top athletes. So to go in that living room, you as a parent and as a student athlete, you're going to be invigorated to hear this guy speak to you.
Without question. Look, he can close. I can promise you that. And he is as straightforward as the day is long. And so at his introductory press conference, Herm stepped up and gave the audience a little bit of the taste that all our ESPN listeners and viewers have had the joy to watch for the last 9 years.
Some people will question, well, you haven't coached in a long time. You haven't been on the field. Turn the TV on Wednesday. I'll be back in studio in Bristol. And I'll be coaching football, by the way. That's what I do. I coach football. And I've been coaching football my whole life. And this is why I'm here today, because of the vision. There's something that a great former player said here. Pat Tillman. He said, when he talked about passion, he said it ignites your soul. Football. ignites my soul. It's what makes me go. This is what I do. I've done this my whole life.
Here's the thing about Herm. In today's game, you get guys that are at non-Power 5 schools, do well, and they get to go to Power 5s. They leave and they look for, which is fine. It's a stepping stone, and they go. You get guys like Jimbo Fisher, who go from a big-time school in Florida State, where he's been there for a while, to a big-time school in Texas A&M and make just a boatload of money. They make that move. There's an agenda. With Herm, there's going to be no agenda.
Correct.
Herm is not looking for a stepping stone anywhere. Herm is not going to look for leverage anywhere. Herm loves football, wants to coach football, wants to coach young men, not only coach them in football, but wants to guide them in life as well. And I mean, with all the crap and garbage that can be going on in college sports now, to me, it is refreshing. And don't think he doesn't know the game. He's doing it every single week.
He breaks
at
down
ESPN.
every game here, yeah.
Breaks it all down. He knows how the game is played now. And as we said, he coaches, he's hands-on with the top athletes who are going to play college. So, man, I can understand some trepidation because he's been out of it for a while. He's 63 years old, but I can't wait to see what he does. And
Absolutely.
I wish they take a camera into that living room when he is talking to that recruit and his parents about coming to Arizona State.
No question. Look, years ago he told me he was done coaching, but then I asked him what the change of heart was, and he said, Trey, sometimes, when you just, I wanted to feel the grass underneath my feet one more time. I just wanted to be on the sidelines and do that one more time. And he'll be rejuvenated, and look, as a 63-year-old, he has the energy of a 23-year-old.
Oh, my gosh.
He's up at 4:30 working out every morning. I wish I had his energy at my age, let alone his age. Now, Herm is also a guy that will sometimes go off script a little bit.
Yeah.
We also saw that at the press conference when someone from one of the publications that is all into the Arizona State Sun Devils introduced himself and asked him a question.
Hold Rubino, Devil's Digest.
Devil's Digest, huh?
Yes, sir.
Where you located, my man?
Right here in Tempe.
Okay, Devil's Digest. Okay. I'm Catholic now. I'm a Christian. Watch out, them devils. I'm just saying.
Well,
we're good, brother.
You can see devils all over the place.
I ain't taking it personal.
Now, those people are saying he didn't know that the Arizona State Sun Devils were the mascot.
Yeah.
Of course, Herm knew the Sun Devils were the mascot. He was just having fun with the guy.
I mean,
and you can take it any way you want, but that's Herm. That's who he is.
That is Herm.
Yeah,
he is. I am so looking forward to it. I really am, because, as I said, this is what he wants to do now. There was a guy that, listen, is about as I said, that there are very few men that I didn't have a hero growing up. My dad was my hero, and there were very few men that I respected as much as my dad. I've talked about this. John Story, one of my coaches in high school, was like that. And Bill Curry is a man like that as well. And I got to work with him for a number of years. And Bill, when I worked with him, would talk to me about when he was a player and a coach as well, and how some of the things he missed doing that because he was a coach, and how he would change it. Well, then he helped start the program at Georgia State, and he got to kind of do it the way he wanted, with not missing some of the things he missed earlier. Got kind of a redo, and I think Herm is kind of there where he wants to get back to football, but impart his knowledge and wisdom on young men now, 18-year-olds up to 22, 23-year-olds, and give them more than just football. Listen, certainly it's going to be based on wins and losses. That's what coaching is in big-time college sports. I get that. But you know what? Along with that, only one team's going to win the championship every year, but I know they'll want him to get him in contention in the Pac-12 and all that. I understand all that. I get it. But he is going to help prepare your son,
without question,
for what goes on in the real world as well.
Look, we hope to have Herm on tomorrow's show here on Golic and Wingo. But at the bottom line, one of the other things he said at the press conference is, look, if you're good enough, you'll get a chance to play at the NFL. But if you're not good enough, you'll walk out here with a scholarship, and it's my job to make these young men better men going forward. And Herm Edwards as your coach is about so much more than the X's and O's. It's about getting you set for what happens when the whistle stops. And there is no better man I can think of in that regard to have leading your son into battle on the football field and dealing with things away from the field.
Yep.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
It was all sort of one big giant Jell-O mold. It's very interesting where that went.
Golic and Wingo. Finishing up hour number 3 on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And we've talked a lot today, Mike, about whether the game last night was a bad look for the NFL and obviously the concerns about Ryan Shazier. Again, it appears that there are positive signs moving forward for him, and that's the best possible news we could hope for, and we'll hopefully have more information along those lines. But you know what? We don't talk enough about some of the good things that come out of sports. And we had one of those stories last night based on things that we saw earlier this year. Yeah,
this is on Monday night. These two were honored as Sports Illustrated Sports Persons of the Year, and there were two of them. It was J.J. Watt, and it was Jose Altuve. Watt, if you remember, raised more than $37 million.
Crazy.
It was unbelievable how that went up for Hurricane Harvey relief efforts, and Altuve led the Astros to their first World Series title, both giving hope to the city as it picked up the pieces from that incredible storm. So on Monday night, the two were honored by Sports Illustrated, given the magazine's prestigious Sports Person of the Year award. Their executive editor, Steve Cannella, said they chose the pair because Watt and Altuve perfectly embodied the Houston Strong slogan the city adopted in the wake of the August hurricane and its catastrophic flooding. So congrats to those two guys. I mean, it was what went on there. I'm still amazed at what was the initial J.J. Watt wanted as a goal?
He wanted to try and raise $200,000.
$200,000, and it got to $37 million, which is unbelievable.
And the amazing thing about that was, look, there was one benefactor, Charles Budd of H-E-B Food Stores, that donated $5 million.
Right.
But for the most part, this was the best possible use of social media. He just put it out there on Twitter and Instagram. Hey, I'm trying to raise this money. And in an ironic use of words, the floodgates opened, for what was happening in Houston. Right. Everybody just bought into this thing, and he kept raising it and putting a new update, a new goal, and a new goal. I don't think JJ had any chance in a thought in his mind that he'd get to $5 million, let alone $37 million. And for all the people that say stick to sports, hey, if J.J. Watt hadn't stuck to sports, we might be $37 million short of all the relief money that went to Houston after Hurricane Harvey.
Then, of course, what the Astros being down there, you can't overlook what a team playing in a city after some devastation can mean. I remember after Katrina hit New Orleans, and the first time Greeny and I did a show down there after that, when they were going to have that Monday night game, people were just saying, thanks for being down here. We're happy your network is down here. Please spread the word that, we want to be back, for people to come back here. So to have that event there and for the Astros to do what they did and to be there, and it's so different, obviously, in baseball and basketball and hockey, where it's a series and you're there for a number of games like they were, just had to mean so much to the city. So award well-deserved for those two guys.
Absolutely. I was actually at New Orleans doing something else like 2 weeks before it hit, or maybe 8 days before Katrina hit. Then to see that unfold was just amazing, and to see that city bounce back. I went back a year later to do an arena football game, of all things, with Mark Schlereth, to see it come back, and it's great. So congratulations to JJ. Congratulations to Jose Altuve for doing what they did for the city of Houston. It was well-deserved honors, and great to see Houston bounce back the way it had. All right, this is the big man's favorite segment. It is time for...
Here's your news of the weird with Golic and Wingo.
Well, it involves a Waffle House, which is...
Winner, automatically a winner. Automatically.
I get in a fight with Jamel Hill all the time because she can't stand Waffle House. I love...
How does she not like
I
Waffle
have
House?
No idea. I absolutely love Waffle House. Love it. South Carolina... a man got the cravings at 3 a.m. to hit the local Waffle House.
Got the cravings, did he? Is that how we're calling it?
He was hammered.
There it is.
Okay. And so Alex Bowen walked over to the West Columbia restaurant because he couldn't sleep because he was
hammered.
After seeing no other workers on the premises and apparently not wanting to disturb the worker who was there who was sleeping.
So he's a thoughtful guy.
There was a worker there asleep, and he didn't see anybody else around. So because he was hammered, decided to take matters into his own hand. What did he do? He headed back to the kitchen and cooked his own meal. He documented his adventure in a Facebook post that has gone viral. He got hot on the grill, as he said, with a double Texas bacon cheesesteak melt.
Oh, that's
with
so good.
extra pickles.
Oh, now I could lose the pickles, but I'm good with everything else.
Sounds awesome. He said, when I was done, I cleaned the grill, collected my ill-gotten sandwich, and left. As he admitted, he said, I was pretty inebriated. You think?
Possibly.
He did go back later and return to the restaurant, and he did pay for a sandwich.
Right.
He cleaned, took the sandwich, left without paying. Then he went back and paid.
Thoughtful and responsible.
How about it? Waffle House did say that the sleeping employee will be suspended just for a week and then back to work. And Bowen apparently is not in any trouble for his actions. However, in a statement obtained by multiple news outlets, the chain did say, for safety reasons, customers should never have to go behind the counter. The statement also mentioned the possibility of Bowen getting a job with the company since he obviously has some cooking skills.
Yeah, here's the question. Because he went back later to pay.
Yeah.
So what did he come in and say, you know what? Hey, I don't need anything now.
He probably admitted it.
But like last night, I might have come back and made my own bacon cheesesteak thing, so here's $4.
Well, at some point, do you maybe wake up once your hangover's gone and go, oh, man, I wonder if there are security cameras rolling. I best go fess up before anything comes out. I don't know. But listen, I have been in Waffle House in both states.
Yes.
Completely fine, and in other cases.
I was going, which two states? But now I get it.
No.
I was going geographically.
No, I've been in Waffle Houses in a lot of states, but in a couple state of minds,
Gotcha.
and I love it. But this is going, listen, you're hungry.
Yeah.
You're hungry.
You don't
want to say, oh, he's sleeping, no one there to cook, I'm going to leave. You say, I'm going to go cook my own meal.
Hey, man, what did Latrell Sprewell say when he turned down that $16 million contract? Got to feed my kids, man.
Feed this.
You got to get your food on.
Alex had to feed himself.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
Let's not expect too much. There's only one person out there that's expecting way too much out of this guy too early. We know who that is. It's his father.
Delighted to be joined now in studio by our front office insider, Louis Riddick. Joins us to give us the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Louis, lots to get into, including the mess that the Giants have sort of found themselves into right now. What's the best possible outcome for them going forward for the rest of this season to try and get the narrative back on track in some way, shape, or form?
The best possible outcome really would be, look, for the football team to show some competitive character that is Giant worthy, number one. For whoever is left to play on this football team to actually not have us be able to sit there and subjectively judge them and go, this is a football team that this is not playing with the kind of professional, competitive character that they should be. That to me, I think the one-loss record really is irrelevant. I don't think there is a best-case scenario because they're not going anywhere.
Right.
I think the best-case scenario for them is going to take place far away from the football field. It's going to be how Mr. Mara right now gets together with Ernie Gilcorsi, and they kind of start formulating a plan for how do we get the right general manager, philosophically have that guy matched up with the right coach, and then start evaluating this roster, evaluate the free agent class, evaluate the draft class, get the right coaching staff in here, get the right plan together as far as improving this football team in the months of February, March, and April, which is really why, Trey, Mike, they're in the position that they are. That's when they made their mistakes. And that stuff all manifests itself in having seasons like this. When you lose players, they don't have depth, you don't have the right coaching mix, you don't have the right communication, this is when you start making changes.
So is there any doubt that the GM needs to come first here? And if the GM comes first, is the discussion first before hiring that GM what you think will happen with Eli Manning? How much of a conversation is that?
I think that's a big part of the whole interview process for whoever the GM is going to be is what would be your plan here? What would be your plan if you kept him? What would be your plan if you were going to move on from him? And a lot of that has to do with what kind of coach do you think you could get? What would be your plan for really repairing the relationship? Ownership is going to have to be involved in that because, look, Mr. Mara already admitted the fact that he is culpable in this whole mess as well. So, yeah, I think that's going to be a big, big part of it. That's probably going to be the number one question as far as when you start evaluating the roster. What is your plan? What would you do as far as Eli?
Look, the amazing thing is Ben McAdoo was hired as an offensive guru, right? He came over as Aaron Rodgers' quarterback coach. In his entire tenure with the Giants, they never scored 30 points in a game.
Yeah.
I mean, they never scored 30 points in a game. That's a remarkable thing considering they have Odell Beckham Jr., they had Sterling Shepard last year, they have Eli Manning, and those guys could never get 30?
Yeah.
I mean, the way the game is played today, the way the game is officiated today,
yeah,
that's remarkably bad.
Yeah, that is a pretty bad indictment on your ability to utilize players that everyone else would consider to be top flight players, especially at the skill positions. Now, he in his defense could go, well, I'll tell you why we weren't able really to develop a running game, because no one really gave me a running back. No one gave me offensive linemen that could stay healthy as a cohesive unit and actually move people off the ball. He could make all of his arguments that counter the fact that he didn't score 30 points in a game or coach a team to score 30 points in a game, and that's where Jerry Reese comes into play. That's where really I think the Giants did what I think is ideally the best thing in these kind of situations, which is when you change it, you change everything. Because they're so interconnected, Mike. I mean, I don't know how, unless you were there every day, that you could start singling out people for going, it's your fault, but it's not yours. It's yours, but it's not quite yours, which was what made the whole Tom Coughlin situation one where people were sitting there scratching their head going, how's that Tom Coughlin just him and it's not the G? How do you do that?
Well, they kept the staff, right?
Exactly. So how do you do that? So those are kind of things. Look, they made the right decision. They're just going to have to get it right now on the backside as far as who ushers in the next era.
Speaking of getting it right, Rob Gronkowski has suspended one game. His appeal will be heard today by Derek Brooks. Did they get it right with one game, and what happens in the appeal?
Because it's such a, you take into account, Mike, so many different things as far as how many games a guy should get, prior history, when did it occur, was it during the course of play, after the course of play? I mean, that can be, look, I could say 2 games, I could say 3 games, I could say 4 games, and I could have people support me with all those.
Sure.
And then I could say that, and people would still say, it's not enough, suspend the rest of the season. I will say this, though, just looking at the play. And I'm going to qualify it by saying this. I am someone who loved the viciousness of the game. I just am.
You played that way.
Okay? My heroes were guys you played with and played against. I worshipped Ronnie Lott, Dennis Smith, Jack Tatum. So you're never going to hear me bash players for trying to be physical, although I understand the landscape and I understand the concern for player safety going forward. That's when the game is being played.
Right.
What Gronk did is different. Tre'Davious White is 195 pounds. Maybe 6 foot 195. My favorite corner in this draft coming out this past year from LSU. You remember me saying that?
We both talked. We love Tre'Davious White coming out of this draft.
Gronk physically is a monster.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot, when a guy's laying on the ground, face down,
with his back turned,
put your braced up elbow in the back of his neck and smash his face in the ground. I don't care how ticked off you are. You will never hear me you'll never hear me defend that. And I know people the past 24 hours have been saying that, you know what, you're not being hard enough on Gronk. You were a lot harder on Mike Evans. I said, look, I killed Mike Evans. It was BS.
Deservedly so.
And what Gronk did is BS.
Yep.
He knows better. Players have to protect one another. If something happens in the course of playing a game like George Iloka's hit last night on AB,
right?
I've seen that hit 1,000 times. I'm telling you, he's not trying to hurt AB. I've hit players like that 100 times. I've watched guys hit players like that 100 times and it wasn't called back in the day. But you can't do it now, and you'll never hear me say, oh, don't throw the flag. I'll say, look, you're going to have to throw the flag. And players, if you can't adjust, you're going to get fined or get knocked out. Right. But what Gronk did is different.
Yeah,
and he knows
over. It was on the sidelines. It was done. It wasn't a bang play like Juju Smith-Schuster on Vontaze
Right.
Burfict.
So whether I say 2 games or 200 games, there are always going to be people who go on either side. But look, let me just qualify by saying this: what he did is BS, and we know it. I never championed that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Neither did you.
No.
Neither did any other vicious players who played in this game. It's BS. So whatever he got, I was fine with.
Well, look, he knows it. He apologized afterwards. And Bill Belichick, you heard that camera catch it when he was talking to Sean McDermott afterwards. He called it a BS play.
Yep.
They all knew it, so we're just waiting for the process to play out here. By the way, if the suspension holds, Gronk will be the first Patriots player suspended by the NFL for the violation of unnecessary roughness rules in over a decade. So this is not something that's preached in any way, shape, and form.
No.
They play to the echo of the whistle, and they play it the right way. He just took it too far.
That's right.
I get it. He was frustrated. Can't do that.
Right.
Can't do that, especially when that guy ends up with a concussion.
Hey, you could have, you could have seriously hurt the guy.
Absolutely.
I mean,
right.
and we're talking about something where, like last night, you saw the serious, legit trepidation on people's faces about Ryan Shazier. What if that would have happened to Tre'Davious White?
Right. Absolutely right.
There would be, there's no telling what the airwaves would be filled with right now.
Absolutely right.
So to that point, obviously, we've been talking about that a lot this morning, Lewis, with the idea of what happened last night. Damian Woody and a couple of other players have tweeted that they thought everything that went on in that game, not just the Shazier injury, which is separate from the chippiness that went on. That was just a football play that just turned bad. Was that a bad look for the NFL on Monday night?
Yeah, they're going to be. I'm sure they're very, very concerned about the fact that, look, they're trying to, in today's society, they're trying to give the impression that, look, we're trying to maintain the integrity of the game and what inherently is a very physical, violent, risky game. Okay, we understand that, but at the same time, they don't want it to look like they have lost control of the players in this regard. Like, they're not going to follow the rules and they're not going to abide by, their mandate that they're trying to legislate some of these unnecessary headshots out of the game. They don't want that. And last night it looked like they lost control. It looks like players lost control. It looks like the players didn't care about one another as much as they should. And this game is very personal. It's personal between these two. When they asked Big Ben after the game, how do you explain this game? He said, AFC North. And he wouldn't say another word, really. Right. Because look, it's different in this game. It's different. When I played in old AFC Central, when it was the Houston Oilers, Browns, Bengals, Steelers, and you're playing against Jerry Glanville teams, and you're playing against the old Steelers team, look, it became personal. It was personal between you when you played the Cowboys, personal when you played the Redskins. This ramped up. But the players they do have to take care of each other. It isn't just the league's responsibility. It's the players' responsibilities, too.
So, last one. We have under a minute to go here. Sure. A couple of weeks ago, you and I disagree with you. You thought Patrick Mahomes should move into the starting lineup. I completely disagree with anybody who said that. Yeah. They have lost 6 to 7 after the 5-0 start. Where are you at with that now?
You know what? I was saying that I know I was waiting for Alex Smith to turn and look in the camera and call me out on national TV like, hey, isn't there somebody on ESPN who said I should be sitting? Look, Patrick is special, and he's going to be special. He is. Alex Smith is a great professional. The Kansas City Chiefs' problems extend beyond Alex Smith in the quarterback position. You saw it. Really, here's really the problem. The defense is going to hold them back. Okay, they can't cover. They can't rush the passer. They only have one pass rusher. D Ford was, I don't know the last time we've seen him.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's a problem. So, Look, I love Alex. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be a better pro. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be one of the best quarterbacks we've seen coming in this league on a long time. And I believe
they moved up for a reason.
I believe they believe that too. And you know what? If you went back and you watched again some of his preseason play, and you saw some of their practice film, you'd be going,
Well, but you know what, though? Alex Smith threw for 4 touchdowns at a 70-yard touchdown.
He's the ultimate pro.
70 yards.
He's the ultimate pro.
He wasn't the reason that they gave him 38 points, and the Jets certainly looked like the 2013 Broncos on Sunday. Lewis, we appreciate it. We'll see you on NFL Live later on today, I'm assuming.
This has been the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast. Make sure to subscribe on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, and to listen every weekday morning at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and the ESPN app.